Hey guys, I'm Taryn. I'm a self-taught Unity game developer. In this video, I'll be walking you through the basics of setting up your first 2D project in Unity. If you've ever wanted to create a video game, then Unity is a great place to start. Unity uses C# and you can make really anything in your imagination come to life using this program. There's a bit of a learning curve when it comes to the various features and tools in Unity, but this video will walk you through them so that you'll be all set to start creating. So the first step is to open up your browser and to navigate to the Unity download page, and I'll leave a link here so that you know which web page I'm talking about. There are two components you'll need for creating projects. The first is the Unity Hub, which is like the central interface where all of your projects are stored. This is also where you can see current installs of Unity, access certain Learn Unity features and tutorials, and change the Unity version that your projects are edited in. Go ahead and download Unity Hub by clicking on the green button. Next, we'll look at the different versions of Unity available. Click on Choose Your Unity plus Download and you'll be taken to the plans and pricing page. On the individual tab, you'll see that the student and personal versions are free. Go ahead and download the personal version now. With Unity downloaded, you can create your first project. The Hub lets you create either a 2D or 3D project. Don't worry if you make the wrong choice here. You can always change the setting later once you're actually working in Unity. Give your project a name and click Create. Now you need to wait for it to render, and this can take a while. Okay guys, so eventually you should see your blank project open in Unity. With Unity open, let's go through some of the key components of the interface. Over on the left-hand side is the hierarchy. This is where everything in your scene hangs out, and it's where you'll see things like the camera, canvas, sprites, text boxes, buttons, and more. Down at the bottom is the Project Assets folder. This is where anything you create or import into your project will be stored, including images, sound effects, music, animations, scripts, scenes, and more. You can create as many folders as you like to organize and store your assets in. This is also where you'll store prefabs, which are kind of like a template for game objects. I'll be talking a lot more about prefabs in a later video. On the right-hand side, you'll see the inspector. If I click on a game object in either my hierarchy or the Project Assets folder, you'll see a lot of useful information about that item that pops up in the inspector. So, for example, with the player sprite selected in my hierarchy, I can look at the sprite's anchor point, its position, rotation, and scale, the image attached to the object, as well as any other components such as scripts which will determine the behavior of that object. At any time, I can add another component by hitting the Add Component button at the bottom of the inspector. If I need to lock the inspector to keep the current object details on the screen, I can simply hit the little lock button at the top right here. Alright, so let's talk a little bit more about the two windows you see in the middle of the Unity screen. On the left is the Editor window, and on the right is the Game view. The Editor window is where, you guessed it, all of the editing in your game takes place. By clicking an object in your hierarchy, you can move that object around the screen using these tools here at the top of the screen. You can also drag and drop certain objects such as prefabs from your Project Assets folder into the Editor window to have them appear in your scene. Note that in order for objects like sprites to appear, depending on your project setup, you may have to change the sorting order value in the inspector so that it's larger than the object you want the sprite to appear on top of. You can easily resize your editor window like so, and really you can move any of these UI components around to your liking. If you ever need to reset the layout, just head up here to the right top hand corner and click Layout. Lastly, if you're ever missing a window in Unity, you can usually find it by going to the menu and clicking here. Okay, now onto the game window. Of course, this is where you'll see your game in action. The default camera color in Unity is blue, so in this blank project, all we can really see so far is the empty camera view. But let's go ahead and add some other objects to our scene so we have something that looks more like a project. The game window is also where you can change the aspect ratio of your game using the little drop down here. And if you're building a game for an aspect ratio that isn't in this list, you can add it here. This is pretty self-explanatory, but using the play button here is how you can play your game. There's a pause button here as well, and you can also skip ahead a frame in your game using this little arrow here. Let's talk about one last component that you'll be using a lot for debugging in Unity, the console. The console is a separate window that I usually have docked here in a tab next to my project assets folder. Using a command like debug.log in a C# script will print a specific message to the console, and this is super useful for checking variable names or seeing whether a method in your scripts is running properly. There are a few settings to be aware of in the console, such as this clear button here, and I usually have clear on play selected so that when I first go into play mode, any error messages in the console automatically disappear. Before long, you'll probably have a ton of warnings in the console at least, and they can really clutter up things, so clearing them on play is a good habit to get into. Okay guys, that wraps up this quick tour of the Unity interface. I hope this video has made you feel more comfortable setting up a Unity project and identifying the key features of the program. Once you have your project set up, you essentially have a blank canvas to start creating from. In future videos, I'll be introducing all of the cool stuff you can add to your Unity game, like 2D and 3D game objects, animations, sound effects, particle systems, and more. I hope you'll join me again soon for another dive into game development in Unity. Until then, thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.